Manchester United believe they have signed a future superstar in Leny Yoro. Could we be in for another future star in Chris Rigg? And confirmed signings of Overy and Lusale. Kone is on a fast track to the first team as Man United's future looks really bright. Links with Benjamin Sesko and Alphonso Davies. All this that will keep you right up to date with all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video. And let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with the Leny Yoro update. So Manchester United are clear they will not take any risks. They want to see Leny Yoro on the pitch when he's 100% fit so that he won't have any problems for present and future. Leny Yoro is now very happy about his decision to join Manchester United. He believes that the future will be bright. Positive feelings from both parties. Waiting for Yoro to be back on the pitch as soon as possible, but no risk will be taken. The feeling internally on Leny Yoro is fantastic. The club believe they have signed a superstar for the future. Now, that was quotes directly from Fabrizio Romano regarding Leny Yoro, claiming that Manchester United believe that they've got a superstar for the future, and effectively saying that Leny Yoro is really happy with his decision to join United because obviously there were... he was heavily linked with Real Madrid. In fact, Madrid were the favourites before we swooped in and kind of stole him from under their noses. But that also the kind of takeaway from that as well is that he will not be rushed back from his injury. They're going to take their time with him because when he comes back, they don't want to have any reoccurrences, and they do expect him to be. Like it says there, a superstar for the future, which is kind of high praises from Romano, and obviously Romano's got inside sources or whatever at probably every club in the world. That's what makes him one of the best journalists around. But really high kind of compliments there from Romano. But also I like the fact that they're taking their time with him. I think it seems to be United's new approach to injuries, and it makes a difference. So when you've got a squad and you do have options, so you don't have to rush players back and potentially make them risk getting another injury like we had to last season, because we just had that many injuries. We were having to just play players because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to put like a team out in some games. So really happy with that, really positive. Forget that Yoro's only 18 years old as well, very highly regarded. So I thought that was really interesting and actually kind of makes you excited for the future with United, with having a player like Leny Yoro at our disposal, who is definitely very highly rated, very highly regarded. And like it says there, United think they've signed a superstar for the future, which is very high praise. Ben Jacobs also said that United won't rush a return, but Leny Yoro is desperate to be fit and match sharp in time to feature away at Arsenal on December the 3rd. He could be back on the grass mid or late November if recovery and rehabilitation goes to plan. So Leny Yoro is on his way back. He's aiming to be, when it says back, for the Arsenal game on December the 3rd, I think it made match sharp, so that means should be back before that, hopefully playing some minutes, playing some games, because he wants to be sharp for that game as well. Begs the question though, where does Leny Yoro fit into the team? Is he a rotation option with De Ligt? I mean, could he play left centre half as well? Could you play De Ligt and Leny Yoro, Martinez and Yoro? I think he gives you that kind of flexibility. Very highly regarded, very well thought of. So all positive that for me. The fact that they're taking their time with him, they're not going to rush him back. We don't need to necessarily rush him back because, touch wood, we don't have an injury crisis at the moment. So yeah, massive positives for me, and really exciting actually that he's that highly regarded at United. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Man United have also announced, or it's been confirmed, the signings of youngster Overy, the young right back that was signed from Australia. So James Overy has been kind of confirmed, as has Samuel Lusale as well. Both very highly regarded, highly thought after youngsters. So again, it's just kind of adding to the kind of vision that Ineos are going for, getting in these young profile of players, developing them, I think for two real key reasons. One, if you can get these sort of players and get them into the first team, then obviously you've got some really good players. But also, secondly, you can sell them and turn a profit as well. Do you know what I mean? And I know that sounds awful, but with the financial fair play and PSR restrictions, we do need to start thinking about that. So we need to start thinking about kind of profit and sustainability rules, and one of the best ways to combat that is by moving on some of your homegrown players. So even if they're not a massive success or not quite Manchester United first team ready, you could still make a bit of money on them by selling them if they don't quite make it as well. But I'm massively excited for those players to see how they develop, because they are very highly regarded youngsters. There's still no update on Chido Martin. He's another very highly regarded youngster that's meant to be coming in. So we've still not got any kind of more news on that. The latest update was that they're still waiting to kind of get the compensation package sorted between United and Arsenal, which seems to be dragging on, but it is what it is. But no, definitely positive steps, I think, for United going forward, getting in these sort of players. And another player that fits the mold, Kone. Another young player, very highly regarded, very highly thought after, only signed for £1 million. And it's been said by Gimme Sport that Sekou Kone is already exciting Eric Ten Hag's staff at United's Carrington training ground. Kone is said to be on a fast-track path to the senior team and could even figure in the squad if United progress in the Carabao Cup. So another one that's highly thought after, a little unknown gem plucked from from nowhere, on a fast track to the first team as well. They are still going to take their time with him. There were rumours that he was going to be playing in the game last night, but that didn't materialise. So, but yeah, massively exciting. What's going on in terms of young players and developmental players coming through at United. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. And another player that would fit that bill, that I brought your story last week regarding Chris Rigg. Now, I will say firstly, these are not coming from the most credible sources. So I am still reserving judgment on them. But Chris Rigg is, he does seem to be like a player of interest. We were linked with him in the summer before he signed a new contract at Sunderland. But TalkSport was saying that Manchester United are ready to step up interest in Chris Rigg and could make their move as early as the January transfer window to fend off competition from rivals. Chris Rigg perfectly fits the profile of young players Ineos want to build their Old Trafford revamp around. Again, not from the most credible sources, but there are a few of the kind of, tier 2-ish kind of sources that are linking us with Chris Rigg, whether that's genuine or not. But funny thing is, I live in the Northeast. I've got a lot of friends that are Sunderland season ticket holders and Sunderland fans. I was in my office yesterday because this is not my full-time job. I work 40 hours a week, and this is something I do as like a passion project and on the side. I work from home most of the time, but yesterday I was in office and I was having a chat with a few of the lads in there that are Sunderland fans. I was like, right, Chris Rigg, give me the lowdown. What is he like? Is he any good? And they were all absolutely raving about him, saying that he is, at 16 and 17 years old, he said he's bossing the midfield and dictating games at that young age. They said he's an absolutely fantastic player and they've got really high hopes of him. And these were the same kind of lads and mates of mine that were bigging up Amad Diallo as well when he was on loan there. They kind of said that Amad Diallo is one of the best players they've ever seen at Sunderland, and that they kind of expected him to come to United and get straight into the first team. So they've got kind of, I don't want to say that he's amazing just yet, Amad, but I rate Amad Diallo as well. So Chris Rigg, very highly thought of by a few Sunderland fans. Really interested option. There's been kind of links like comparing him to like Jude Bellingham, not necessarily in terms of play styles. I think what they're on about there is a very young player that's doing really well in the Championship, that's got an unbelievably high ceiling. And by all accounts, United don't want to miss out on a player like that as well. So there could be potentially something going on, maybe for January, possibly with a loan back. But it's one to keep an eye on. I would still like to see a bit more credibility, though, being honest. But he is really, really highly regarded young player. And there's definitely, I think there is genuine interest from United, but how serious that interest is, we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, I'll bring you any updates on it as well, but would definitely fit the mold as well of young up and coming, exactly like Lusale and Overy and Kone and Leny Yoro. I mean, these sort of core players I'm massively excited about bringing into United, and hopefully we can develop them properly and they can go on to either be future stars, or if they're not, you can turn a profit on a lot of them as well. Although Chris Rigg's going to be super expensive. You're talking 20 to 30 million pounds by all accounts, because he's that highly regarded. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, this next story kind of links in a little bit with the Leny Yoro news around his injury. So Samuel Lucas was saying a huge amount of work has been done on data analysis to reduce the number of injuries. The player's workload in training is analysed in great detail. So obviously we were injury plagued last season, to say the least. And obviously Ineos, Ten Hag and everyone had like a review in the summer, so maybe that's something that they've looked at the workload in training, obviously the amount of games and stuff as well, and that's maybe why we're obviously going to see a lot of rotation, and some of the rotations might not make sense, like the Rashford one at the weekend, for example. It's questionable, I would say, although I think there's a toss of a coin between Garnacho and Rashford at the moment. But it seemed odd that Rashford would be, Ten Hag's played Rashford when he's not been scoring goals, and then as soon as he starts scoring goals, he rotates him. But that could be one of the reasons. They could be looking at all the data and that, and they're like, right, okay, well, he's on the kind of borderline, so he needs a rest, and Ten Hag is having to kind of work around that as well. So sometimes maybe you might see players rotated that you weren't really expected, and that could be one of the reasons. So we'll need to bear that in mind. It might not just be about form or competition and stuff. It might just be that actually we need to rest that player now, otherwise we're going to risk injury, which is fair enough. Like that's it's actually sad that hasn't been happening anyway, and that could have been one of the contributing factors to why we got so many injuries last season. So it's smart that they're kind of doing that. But let me know what you think in the comments. Now, another story, this came from Mark Ogden, who's a fairly credible source, saying that before signing Xerxes, United had considered a move for Ivan Toney, but he was ruled out because he didn't fit Ten Hag's profile for the required striker, in that while boasting an impressive strike rate, he didn't press defenders energetically enough. And that's a bit of a controversial one, right? And I want your opinions on this, so please get involved in the comments and let me know what you think. What do you think about Joshua Xerxes' work rate? Do you think he is a hard worker or not? Because I've heard mixed comments online and from conversations with people. I think he does work pretty hard, but I think he's just got one of those lazy kind of gaits or lazy body language, so it doesn't look like he's running as much as what he does. But it's mixed reviews on it as well. So I'd love your opinion on this, to let me know. Do you think Joshua Xerxes has been working hard in the games that he's played so far this season, in terms of pressing and his movement off the ball, or not? Or do you think that actually that's an area that he needs to improve? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on that. Next story I've got for you is regarding Amad. So again, this came from Gibby Sports, saying that Erik ten Hag is adamant that Amad Diallo is a safer bet to deliver long-term consistency than Sancho. He is seen by Erik ten Hag as reliable, a team player, an attacking threat. Erik considered Amad more dependable, which is really interesting. So obviously, we know we had the whole kind of Sancho deal in the summer, but according to Gimme Sport, what they were saying is that they've seen Amad Diallo as more reliable than Sancho. So that's the reason why they kind of got rid of Sancho and kept Amad Diallo. And I think he's kind of, so far this season, I think he's been one of our better players, Amad. Really like him, really kind of pleased with how he's developing. Yes, he's still got improvements to make. I'm not saying he's the finished article or anything like that. He's got things that he needs to improve on his game. But in terms of, work rate, consistency on the ball and stuff, I think he's been really, really good so far this season. So interesting that effectively what that story was saying is that they had a choice between Amad and Sancho, and because of Amad's consistency and was seen as a safer bet, that's why they kind of thought, okay, well, we'll move Sancho on then if we get an offer for him. Obviously, he's gone to Chelsea. Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting kind of talking point as well. And I think we've made the right decision personally, but you can disagree or you can agree. Let me know, though, in the comments. Now, let's move on to the next story, which is regarding Benjamin Sesko. So, Manchester United could add another striker. Interest remains in Benjamin Sesko, who is expected to leave next summer. Arsenal are probably still favourites. Now, this came from Ben Jacobs. Now, I always kind of say Ben Jacobs, I find him a bit of a hitty-missy journalist. He is a top-tier journalist, though. But I just find sometimes he's really credible, sometimes maybe not so credible. So personally, I would say take that with a pinch of salt as well. But Sesko is definitely a player of interest. We've been linked with him for about 3 years now. 21 appearances, 21 years old, 4 appearances, 1 assist so far this season, but last season 14 goals and 2 assists in 31 appearances. Really good player I like. And it would make sense to make another striker, because if you remember back, if you watched my previous video when I was talking about people's opinion about playing Xerxes as a 10 and Højlund up front, maybe playing like a front 2 almost, or having those two, which I think could work in certain games, and I wouldn't be against kind of seeing it or trying it. My only worry with that is rotation. I don't think you can do that playing them consistently like that, because who are you going to bring off the bench to replace one of them? We don't have any other strikers apart from those two. So getting in a third choice striker, someone like Sesko, for example, would make sense, because then potentially you could do that. You could play Xerxes and Højlund, or Xerxes and Sesko, or Højlund and another one. Do you know what I mean? It gives you a little bit more freedom up front, and I do think that that would be a viable option, but you'd need, like, for me, a third striker would make sense if that was the route we were going to go down, because I think playing Xerxes and Højlund together, one, we've never seen it, so we don't know if it's going to work, but secondly, there's no longevity in that, because you can't play them consistently. You can't play both of them consistently every game. We're going to have to rotate, so you're going to need players on the bench. You're going to need so you're going to need different options, and we've got no other striker. So I think at the minute, yes, you might see it in certain games, or he might do it for a couple of games or second halves when we need a goal or what have you. So I do think it is a viable option, but I don't think you're going to see it consistently, because for that reason, you can't keep playing them both. But getting in another striker would definitely make sense. Plus, we do need goals. We need goals in the team. That's our biggest issue at the moment, is scoring goals. We're creating chances, but nobody's putting them in the back of the net. So I do feel the need to maybe get another striker. Obviously, Sesko's release clause last summer, though, was 55 million euros, I think it was, and he signed a new contract. So whether they've kept the same release clause, I would imagine they've increased it, surely, because why would you offer another contract for the same release clause? That just makes zero sense. Surely that's going to be increased. So he is going to be rather expensive. Definitely a good player, though, would be an interesting option. I just kind of personally think that at the minute, if you're going to do that, just go out and get the best around, go out and get the best striker around, because having like Højlund at 20 or 21, Sesko 22, Xerxes 23, do you know what I mean? Like toward 24 next summer. So you're going to have like 3 very young strikers. Would be maybe a bit of a gamble, but again, developmental, ticks all the boxes. But let me know what you think about Sesko in the comments. And then the final story we've got for you is regarding the left-back position. So Manchester United's stance on Ben Chilwell was not expected to change in January, even on a half-season loan. The idea is to buy younger and permanent left-back. That plan likely won't change unless injuries dictate a short-term solution. That came from Ben Jacobs regarding the left-back, saying that they're not going to go for Chilwell, which, I'm happy about. Unless something crazy happens, then they might look for a short-term solution. But if they do go for a left-back, by the sounds of it, it's going to be someone permanent. We want a permanent left-back. We don't want to keep loaning in players and stuff, which is fair enough. Ben Jacobs also said that Manchester United do still want a young left-back, although Alphonso Davies is a name considered, but the expectation is that he will join Real Madrid. Alphonso Davies would be a fantastic choice, wouldn't he, for left-back? Let's be real, he's out of contract this summer coming as well, but there has always widely been, it's widely documented that he's looking likely to be going to Real Madrid, but the only thing I would say on that is it looked very likely Leny Yoro would be going to Real Madrid as well, so I wouldn't put it past United yet to potentially be looking at that deal, but I think the player himself wants to go to Madrid, whereas it wasn't really known if Yoro would prefer to go to Madrid or not. There was rumours that he would choose to go to Madrid, but obviously those rumours weren't true because he signed for United. But I think with Davies, it's a little bit more like I think he wants to go to Real Madrid and he's already got that. It's similar with Mbappe, where he's got that kind of pre-agreement with Real Madrid to say, okay, well, I'll let my contract run down if I get like a big payout and high wages and stuff like that for coming to you as well. But you never know. I would never say never at the moment with Ineos, because I would be saying exactly the same things about Leny Yoro. And we did manage to get that deal over the line. So never say never, but I think that one's a little bit a little bit unrealistic. But let me know what you think about that in the comments, and also let me know what you think about the other topics discussed in today's video. Be interested to hear your opinions. I like reading them. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you in the next one.